Welcome back to the shop, everyone. This week's video takes place in 2025, week 31 and 32. That's July 28th through August 10th. And what we're doing this week is we're getting ready for Thunder in the Valley. Now, I've already posted the videos of me actually up in Thunder in the Valley. I posted those videos, like the day of while I was up there. But, I had a few other things going on since then. I had a few other videos like I did the trailer build. So finally getting back to the things that I was doing working on the car. Now what I'm doing is I'm just going over everything on the car because it's always critical to check over everything. And this is why I noticed on the rear right tire that it was low. So I checked the air pressure is low, and I actually found a screw in it. So that's just one of the first things that I find while I'm going over the car. But yeah, so what I'm doing is I'm going to get the car up in the air, take all the wheels off. I'm just going to, do a quick little bleed on the brakes while it's all up in the air. Why not? I'll bleed the clutch while it's up in the air. I haven't done that in a while. Check the oil, check the transmission fluid, check power steering fluid, check radiator fluid. Check all the fluids. I'm not going to check, I think I do check the diff fluid as well. Just check all the fluids on the car. Inspect everything. As I said, I already found a screw in that tire. First thing I looked at. I'm gonna what's called nut and bolt the car. So I'm gonna go over all of the nuts and bolts that I have on the car. All the ones that I've torqued, I've marked them with paint pen. So I'm just gonna make sure that none of them have moved out of adjustment or loosened off or backed off or anything like that. I'm just gonna check over the general condition of the car, make sure there's nothing bent, nothing broken. I do know that I have an issue with the rear passenger park brake assembly from when I was on the drag and drive. It got it stuck on, and so it was grinding. So I just need to check and kind of measure the inside drum, make sure I have enough metal. If I lost that hat, like if it wore through it, it'd be really bad. So I'm just gonna go through, check everything. I'm gonna do an oil change because I haven't done an oil change since the BC Drag It Challenge, and that was 3,000 plus kilometers just on that trip, plus the kilometers I had on it before. So I'm between 3,000 and 5,000 kilometers right now, and so that's just a perfect time to change the oil. When I change the oil, I've got some new copper O-rings because both the front and the rear plug leaked. I kind of clean off the car. There's a pile of oil coming out from the rear main seal, I believe. Either the rear main or the rear oil pan gasket seal. In any case, I'm just going to clean it up as best I can. I can't really fix that before I leave. So there's those new copper O-rings. So I'll put those on front and rear. I bought a ton of them just to have them because I'd rather have them and not need them than need them and not have them. Yeah, that's right. So drain the oil front and rear, and then I'll take the oil filter off, and I will pull the oil filter apart, check it for any material, because if there's any bearing material on the inside or anything sparkly or anything unexpected, well, there's no point in going on the trip because it's just going to destroy the engine. But fortunately in this case, after the oil change and going through and checking the filter, everything is totally fine. quite often while I'm working, my mother-in-law will come in the shop and just kind of check and see what I'm doing, and just likes to look and be a part of it. So hell yeah, of course, come on the shop, check it out. I'll explain what I'm doing, whatever. And sometimes every once in a while I get some cheap free labor out of it. So if she's gonna come in the shop, she's gonna have to go to work. So I get her put to work, putting the last quart of oil into the car. At first she didn't want to do it, but I said, no, it's all you. So yeah, she was super excited and super happy, and I'm pretty fortunate. My mother-in-law kind of supports all of this stuff that I do, and everything I do in the shop and everything else, and so does my wife. So I'm very fortunate to have their support in all of this. So of course I'm gonna include them. I got the oil in there, just gonna fire it up, make sure I've got oil pressure, get it run through the system. So once it runs through the system and the oil filter, then I can do a final check on the oil and drain any out if I need to, or add more if I need to. as I mentioned, I'm going to do a little bit of bleeding on the brakes, so I'm just going to get my vacuum bleeder out, make sure I got fluid in the master, and then I will vacuum bleed all four of the brakes. And the O-ring on my clutch reservoir is shot, so I'm just going to measure for a new one and get a new one ordered up, because yeah, that fluid is super dark, it's really bad. So yeah, let's just get this all measured up. One thing I had to do while I was on the Dragon Drive is clean my oil or my air filter. And so I am going to do that again because it is filthy again. So the plan is this winter, I'm going to do a pile of body work. I'm going to do just a ton of work in there, and I'm going to build some sort of metal kind of shield or plate so that, you know, I don't cover the filter in road grime. So that'll be a really good thing to get done and do. So yeah, this is, as I said, I need to check the brake head on this side. So got to pull the caliper off, and with the caliper off, I can get the rotor off, and then I can look at the inside. And I don't remember if I actually show you, but the park brake shoes are completely down to the metal on the front. You can kind of see how all that shininess on the inside, that's not, well, I mean, it's supposed to be maybe a little bit shiny, but not like that. This thing is worn through. So I actually need to make a note of that. I need to order parts for that this winter, so I got to replace that. So I'm just taking some calculations, measuring the diameter on the inside. I might figure that out compared to the, good clean metal, and then figure out how much it's worn down and how much metal is still left. Because if I don't have enough metal, this could be a really bad situation. Like that hat there bolts to the axle, and then the rotor bolts to that hat. So if that hat for whatever reason like wore through and broke, I technically wouldn't lose like the wheel. Oh, here we are starting week 32. But yeah, so I wouldn't technically lose the wheel, but that rotor could start free spinning and potentially get locked up in the or in the caliper and stuff, so it would be really bad. But yeah, so I'm just under the car checking everything out, and I actually noticed something here on this front lower control arm, I believe. The front nut was actually loose, so there's a jam nut on the front, and that stops. Yeah, so I just found out it's loose, right? So this is why we checked the car. That blue mark was no longer lined up with where it was. So crank it back down, tighten it down, put a new mark on there. And that's why I do this, is if there's anything loose, I want to find out about it now before I go on, 300-kilometer trip and then make passes down a track. So yeah, again, just going over the front of the car now, just kind of checking everything up there, making sure it's all good. So I got the new clutch O-ring, or clutch, I think I got the new clutch O-ring in at this point. I'm not sure, but in any case, I'm going to clear out all that old nasty fluid, put in some brand new clean fluid, and then I'm going to flush the entire clutch. It doesn't hurt to have fresh fluid in there. Even though it was driving fine before, it wasn't slipping or wasn't doing anything unexpected, just having clean fluid is never a bad thing. Crazy thing here is I you can see that I'm tightening this, so I tightened the bleeder screw, but there's still some fluid actually draining out and stuff here. I can kind of see that's moving down, And the crazy thing is, the next day, I went to take the... Well, actually, I'm moving the clutch right now. Just testing it. And the crazy thing is, I went out the next day to drive it, or that night, or whatever, and get out into the driveway, and the clutch just... It's not working. I'm like, what the hell's going on? So I get out of the car, and I look, and there's a pool of clutch fluid under the car. Somehow, the bleeder screw came loose. Maybe I didn't tighten it up enough, whatever it is. And so I literally just puked all of the fluid out. All the bleeding I just did got undone. So I actually pulled it back to the shop, re-bled it. But fortunately, it was just on... I think I was just going to get gas or something, so it wasn't a big deal. It's not like I was leaving for my event. But yeah, so it's critical that you tighten things up when you loosen them and open them. So what I'm doing right here is I'm just checking the torque spec on the bolts, because, you know, I want to torque them up properly. That's for the caliper in the rear. So I'm just going to put this all back together, put the car back together, and yeah, I think that's pretty... I've done all the checking. I just got to put it back together, get it back down on the ground. So I am putting the tire back on here. At this point in time, I have gone to my local tire shop and got them to put a patch on it. So this tire is good to go. It's totally fine. They took the tire off. They patched it from the inside out. They did it properly. So yeah, that patch will hold probably for, you know, the life of the car. Well, the life of these tires. I'll burn these tires off long before this car is done. So one thing that I've noticed recently is that when I start up the car, sometimes it doesn't want to start. I got to give it throttle, and sometimes it's not coming back down to idle properly like it's supposed to. And I'm pretty sure this air idle control motor is on its way out. Now, you're supposed to be able to set the depth of the little piston in there, but I was never able to figure it out, and I never called Holly, so I'm pretty sure what's been happening is that piston has been bottoming out on the throttle body and just kind of getting damaged and slowly breaking. So I think that's what's happening, but I was fine. I knew what the problems were, and I knew that it was probably not going to work great coming back down to idle, so sometimes I might need to give it a little throttle and whatnot, and when it starts it might not start properly. Oh, there's my carburetor. There's my boy just visiting in the shop while I'm troubleshooting the air idle control motor. And as I'm recording this voiceover, he's currently got his 2 paws up on my leg looking at his liver, his treat container. It's got little bits of liver in it, so he's wanting that. And of course, he's such a good boy, we'll give him some. Yeah, so just troubleshooting the AIC. My wiring's all correct. I'm pretty sure I have just damaged it, so I will have to get a new one and then make sure I set the depth properly. Well, after this little jaunt around the block, that is all the time that we have for this week. So as always, if you stuck around this long, I'd like to thank you for viewing, and we'll see you in the next one.